You say I'm reckless like a car with no brakes. I say you're perfect but your mirror always shakes. Your love cuts sharp like a paper blade, but I keep running back, I never fade. Tell me I'm too much, I dare you to try. I live for the spark in your critical eye. Critical love, yeah, it's tearing me apart. Sharp like a dagger, but it beats in my heart. You push, I pull, we both fall hard. Critical love, it's our bizarre art. Your words hit heavy like a hammer on glass, but can't stop chasing, I can't let it pass. You build me up just to knock me down. Still I crave the chaos, wear the crown. We fight like fire, burn to ash. Rise again, a phoenix clash. Our flaws collide, a perfect storm. Critical love keeps us warm. Critical love, yeah, it's tearing me apart. Sharp like a dagger, but it beats in my heart. You push, I pull, we both fall hard. Critical love, it's our bizarre art. Critical love, yeah, it's tearing me apart. Sharp like a dagger, but it beats in my heart. You push, I pull, we both fall hard. Critical love, it's our bizarre art.
Now, as many of you guys saw, Christopher Whitcomb, the author of Broken Plea, he did his rounds through YouTube. He chose to be doing interviews on YouTube versus going his rounds about it on mainstream media. And I'm gonna give my take on those interviews because he had one exclusive, then a follow-up, and then a third interview. I believe he did a total of about 4 to 5 interviews on YouTube. But to me, the first one, the exclusive, should have been the most important, filled with many questions. And I did post that list, some selected questions that were asked to him, and his answers, or non-answers. And I did also do a YouTube short that I posted. Some of the feedback from some of the creators was not too great. Many of them weren't happy, I guess, with his answers or non-answers, or the way that he skirted around some questions. I did like it. I mean, what is not to like, especially when you get the privilege to interview a person like Christopher Whitcomb, a very decorated former FBI. His long list of experience, I mean, from the FBI to also working with some networks as a guest, now an author, very decorative person, right? So he does this book, The Broken Plea, in relation to Idaho 4, and some of these questions that the YouTube community and its host had for him, I mean, pretty much he answered most of them. And I know many of them didn't like the answers. That's why immediately, the following days, literally, I would say they started about 2 days after he did his rounds. Just, I mean, I don't want to say bashing, but yes, a lot of pushback on the things that he answered. Something that some of them thought were wrong. But in all, I mean, not only did he average about 3 hours per interview, the first one was the exclusive at Devil's Advocates with Lee. They had the exclusive. Um, they did a premiere, then a follow up question with a panel. Then the second one was, I believe, it was Custody Queens who did their panel. And then the third one was over at Birdie's. But to me, the one that I liked the most, or the one that had the questions pretty much in order, was the second interview that he did at Custody Queens. And that's where I got most of those selected questions that I had for y'all. It's because they were in sequence and they were follow ups. There's not too much of a crisscrossing over on the panel list like other interviews. But I believe by the third interview and the fourth, and this tends to happen. It's bound to happen. Many questions were already repeated. And I know many streams didn't prepare for that, or they might have caught the first interview and the second one, but they still asked the questions, and still it wasn't what creators were expecting. I mean, and I put it this way. I mean, they were complaining, they were shooting back at him like, oh, this thing you should have known, or there's documents for that, you're answering it the wrong way. Or I know on the, well, what interview was this? I think this might have been on the second interview and third one. I know that Jules wanted to know about her video, the 1112 Pumpkin balcony cams that was muted on her video that she requested. And he was asked about that. Of course, he answered that he didn't know, or he wasn't aware of audio missing. And so that was one thing that some creators didn't like. Another one was the references to law enforcement, or specifically in Idaho 4 case, the ones involved, with his comment like, NPD did a good job, or they didn't like the fact that he mentions Bill Thompson. And on his answer, he said that he was an outstanding guy, or, well, I guess kind of like he admired him, right? But in reality, if you go back and see the way that the question was put, he of course has to be courteous. I mean, many streams could have formulate their questions a little bit more direct as to specifics. And I know that this happens if you've ever done interviews. I've done so many. Told so many people I've done interviews on TV, for the newspaper, radio. I've done a ton of them. And before you go into an interview, you do prep. Even if it's live, you want to know, how do you how does the host want you to answer? Do they want you to be very direct? Do they want you to be, I mean, unfiltered? Because if you just leave it open-ended, they can answer as broad, as vague as they can. But on his answer towards Bill Thompson, he was just being courteous. He answered by that he knew him, he was aware of his work. He had done a pretty good job up to that case. And that's the way that he phrased it. That up to that point. That means he's not saying that he agrees the way that the case ended, but that he had seen the work of Bill Thompson up so far up to that point that he was pretty much okay. It was a well-rounded uh, well-rounded off job, you know. He's not saying that he's perfect or that Bill Thompson is that great of a guy. No, he's answering the question as it was asked. I mean, they didn't say for him to be very specific. Was it specific towards the Idaho case? No, they just said what they thought about Bill Thompson. Okay, so so that was one of the main things that creators pointed out right away. That in his answer to MPD did a good job. I mean, he could have bashed MPD if he wanted to, but they just asked him, right? If you want anyone who's going to be your guest answering very direct questions or not opinions, just facts. He's he says this he says this on his book and even on interviews, just from the get go. He likes to stay on topic, facts. I mean, he's a former LE. They can be very open or they can be just very vague. Like they stick to their mindset, how it's on the job, right? So of course they're not going to have too many opinions to say, and I think creators went into it thinking that he's going to be very laid back, right? It's just going to be off the cuffs, and that wasn't the case. But to me, the interviews were good. I mean, like I said, I liked the second one more because it had a flow of if he answered the initial questions, the the panel had a follow up directly after that one. They wanted to know more, further on each set of topic questions, right? So that's why I like that second interview that he did with the custody queens, just because it had that format. And you wanted to know, well, about I like the CI question, and that was one of the questions that many people were wondering. Anyone who follows the Idaho 4 case, you want that question answered, right? Many of them wondered about the CIs if they were informants on the house, and he answered. If you listen or pay attention to the interview, he answers that. He says, "No, none of the house members were CIs." And then the follow-up question was, "Okay, were there any CIs involved, meaning in the case?" And he answers, "Yes. In any case, you always want to have informants around. Did they produce anything?" So you see how the sequence goes from that initial question into other areas, and he answers they didn't produce much. So that's why I like that second interview. Other things that he goes into, that he scurries around, are relating to audio or video from the case. And he mentions, yeah, most stuff is out there, other stuff is on YouTube. He's just generalizing it towards you understand. And you have to go into it that there's stuff that we're not privy to and stuff that's out there. I mean, he mentions it's out there, but yeah, everyone's going to have the redaction audio or redaction videos. Why? Because it's legally allowed that way. None of the stuff that we get, it's going to be like the stuff that prosecution team or the defense team is going to have, or or the defendant's going to have. I mean, they have unredacted stuff. Of course, we're going to be wondering, oh, but we don't have that portion, or we don't have that audio, or my audio, it's redacted. Yeah, I mean, that's known. So, so many people, again, many communities didn't like that. Oh, I don't have the audio to this, or it's redacted on my end, or some pictures are redacted on that we haven't seen. Well, of course, I mean, that's the whole point of his book, and he answers this, he went into it because he saw troublesome in the case that that it wasn't a clear cut open and shut case. No. Um, but again, the interviews. I mean, did he have to do any interviews with us, with the true crime community? No. And that's why I mentioned on one of my videos that I did. I mean, at the most, it'd be grateful if he got the 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 author of the book, Christopher Whitcomb, to come on your show, to your community, to spend 1, 2, 3, 4 hours. I mean, be grateful. You had him for that long. Most people, or even TV shows at the most, they'll they'll make a spot for you or slot time 15 to 30 minutes. That's the average when you're doing on a TV show, and it gets cut down, gets edited. But if you, as the YouTube true crime community, were fortunate enough to get him on your show, like I said, most of them average about 3 hours that they had the time frame. You literally can ask any question relating to the Idaho 4, or even not relating to the Idaho 4. Many just ask him daily stuff from his life, and he answered. I mean, he answered most questions. So that's what, in my opinion, I mean, yeah, they can complain if they didn't like some of his answers, but you have the guy for 3 hours. You could ask him anything, and by answering a question or not answering, it's still an answer. Uh, and some stuff like that extra bedroom on the 1122 King Road house. Of course, he said it. That's gonna be in part two, meaning he can answer it, because if he answers everything that is relating to the book, what's the point in having a book? He does mention he already got paid for the book. That means an investment by the publisher. That doesn't mean that the publishing company, doesn't have to meet its goal, so that investment that they made into his book comes to fruition and brings in the money that they spent. So of course he has a gap, and I did tell several creators, several viewers, that just because he's out there doesn't mean he's gonna tell you everything relating to the book, because the publisher, it's still the one who is selling the book. It's not him. He's the one who wrote it. He's the one who puts the best effort into which way does he want it to go. It's the market and stuff like that. But the publisher is the one who's investing in his story or his accounts. They still have to sell the book. So that's why it wasn't too much to be expecting that he's going to tell you everything from the book. You can ask certain things. He can answer very, very vaguely, very broad, not to give everything away. Because some of these interviews were done ahead of the release of the video. Yes, it did break, and it was out there. It got leaked online, so that's why he opened himself to do several interviews. But again, he wasn't gonna share everything from the book, because it undermines you being out there, kind of like marketing your book. And yes, several creators uh, did attach the link to the book where they can buy it, whether it's a digital copy or physical copy, a hard copy, uh, to of course push the book and get its sales done, right? But yeah, he answered most questions. Some of the questions that people asked that they've been wondering about, he answered them. And I mean, he has documents, he's seen photos, videos that we haven't. Um, so I do know that several communities even some people, still some creators, don't agree with everything that he answered, stuff that he didn't answer. Um, Again, he didn't have to do the interviews. He didn't even have to come to YouTube. If he did it, or if he didn't, I mean, people would still find a reason to complain, and I feel that always tends to happen. No matter what is the case, people tend to disagree because it's easier to disagree than to agree with something, and that's always going to happen. That's always going to happen. There's always going to be that section of people who aren't satisfied with anything, no matter what. Uh, had we ever had a former FBI, an author of this upcoming book that goes against the narrative that the mainstream media had been pushing so hard from this case, I mean, no one thought that would be possible, and we ended up with Whitcomb. Many communities were able to reach out. He was pleasant enough to reply to emails, to answer calls, take time out of his day for many of us. And to me, at least, that was enough. Whether we don't get him back again to do interviews, or have a reply to some emails, or even a call, I mean, that's fine. He did a lot. Even if it would have been just an hour, 2 hours, he did answer quite a lot. And if you guys didn't check out his book, I'll be putting a link still on my page on any video that I talk about him, because I mean, it goes both ways. We have stuff to talk about based on his interviews or his book, and it's only fair that things go both ways. Meaning, if we're gonna be talking about him, I like the book personally, so of course I'm gonna be putting his book link on there on the video, because if I didn't believe on something, I wouldn't put it on there. I did like the book. I do like the fact that he answered many questions, and I do have a transcript that I posted just in case people were wanting to know some of his answers to questions. I did put it on my YouTube page, so that way you get to check out what kind of questions he got and what were his answers. I did pull out only the part where it's the answer and not so much the back and forth, because I know, and I was going to put a cut up video of his answers, but as you can see on that link that I put, it was over 70, maybe 73 questions that I put on there. There were hundreds. There were hundreds throughout the 3 first interviews that he did. Literally hundreds of questions. So if we do a video that's all cut up and then have a back and forth, you're talking about an average of 3 hours per interview. That's about 6 hours worth of maybe 400 questions. And a lot of them were very small questions with a small answer or non-answer. So I didn't put those in there because you could literally summarize it into the best ones and the ones that we already know the answers to. I mean, many of them we already had the answer to that. He just reaffirmed what we believed. So again, I'm going to be putting a link to his book. If you haven't checked out the questions, do check that one out. I do have it on one of my posts, and it has there a Google Drive. That way you're able to see for yourself the kind of questions that were asked and his answers. Again, this was my thoughts based on the interviews that Mr. Whitcomb, the author for Broken Plea, did. And he did it here on YouTube, not on mainstream media. I hope you like this video, and I'm going to be doing more follow-up videos that I mentioned regarding the Idaho 4 case. I did mention it's an easy case with a bad investigation. Be looking out for that one. Thank you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.
You say I'm reckless like a car with no brakes. I say you're perfect but your mirror always shakes. Your love cuts sharp like a paper blade, but I keep running back, I never fade. Tell me I'm too much, I dare you to try. I live for the spark in your critical eye. Critical love, yeah, it's tearing me apart. tonight.